This is Jared Kleinstein with Fresh Tape Media and Gondola, and you're listening to the Real Talk Podcast.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Real Talk Podcast. I am super stoked to have my guy, Jared Kleinstein, on the show today. Let me tell you a little bit about Jared. Jared is the founder and CEO of Denver-based agency Fresh Tape Media and Gondola, two separate companies. Fresh Tape Media is a Denver-based creative agency that makes videos, photos, and experiences for brands, sports properties, and media companies. His team runs a network of over 150 of the top creators, which include shooters, editors, designers, writers, and social media influencers to help create media for his clients. Some of them including the Washington Capitals, go Caps, Denver Broncos, NASCAR, Formula One, the Arizona Cardinals, the Colorado Rockies, NFL, NBA, NCAA basketball, Major League Baseball, Facebook, and Twitter, just to name a few. Fresh Tape has done videos on Zion Williamson when he entered the NBA draft. He took on the NCAA college football playoffs content during Media Day and Game Day, providing their social media platform with unique content to post during the finals to drive social media conversation. He has produced the MLB 101 series with the Mariners, D. Gordon and Nelson Cruz, with a vlog behind the scenes in the locker room. And he's also produced content for the Caps as Alex Ovechkin became the 8th player in the NFL history to record over 700 career goals. So you may wonder, why on earth would Jared come on to my real estate podcast? I'd say the answer in twofolds. First, you may not know this, but Jared was the original member of the Streeteasy team, where he spent more than 7 years with the founding team to help build out the aggregator before Zillow purchased Streeteasy for $50 million back in 2013. Second, his knowledge of video content creation and social media production is more important than ever for small and large businesses, including real estate brokers and real estate brokerages. A few fun facts about Jared. He worked as the head of sports and international content strategy at Twitter after Streeteasy, Twitter and Vine to be exact. And Jared is the founder and CEO of tebowing.com. I know many of you remember Tim Tebow. Tebowing.com was the world's largest database for tebowing photos. Another fun fact about Jared, he is a very good skier. He was Vail's ski instructor for 7 years. You can follow Jared on Instagram and Twitter at JARZOD and Fresh Tape Media. Again, his Twitter and IG are the same, Jarzod and at Fresh Tape Media. So Jared Kleinstein, welcome to the show and thank you for joining.
Talk, I am stoked to be on with you. It's an honor.
I'm really happy. I mean, it's good to see you. You know, we haven't seen each other in person for about 2 years since Vail closing weekend, was it 2 years ago on the mountain on the top of Chair 4. Yeah, on top of Chair 4. But I haven't really seen you in person then, so it's really nice to catch up.
You too, sir. Yeah, it's a great place that we met 2 years ago, but I feel like that was like a lifetime ago. There's a lot in the world. It's a slightly different world than last time we hung out.
Yeah, everything has changed. Everything has changed then. Well, listen, for the audience, let me just warm you up with a couple warm-up questions, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty. How about this, huh? So as an ex and current tech guy, if you had to choose one or the other, Uber or Lyft?
Uber.
Okay, why is that? Loyal customer?
Loyal. The weird thing is, like, for years I've been so excited about the one principle of Uber of just like how many people don't die of drunk driving deaths because of Uber's existence.
Yes.
And I'm really like grateful for that company, for that fact that I feel like every ad should just start with Uber. Less people are dying of drunk driving because of us. But because they were at the forefront of it, I've kind of stayed loyal.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, less deaths. You're right. The countless number of lives that Uber has saved is such a value add to society. Okay, as a Colorado guy and a guy that drives on I-70 quite often, Vail or Beaver Creek?
Vail. Vail for the Bulls.
Company man.
And I'm a company man, but Vail for the bulls, Beaver Creek for a Saturday without powder. So that if there's not like anything fresh and you want to avoid lines and just cruise and have a great, groomer and moguls day, Beav is your spot. I'd say I probably do 70% to 30% Vail over Beav in terms of total days at the resorts.
Good tips for our listeners.
But we actually work with, there's a section of Beaver Creek, Arrowhead, which is the furthest west section of Beaver Creek. And we run all their social media and a lot of their communications. So
that's great.
They're really awesome.
That's right past the
like Arrowhead
entries.
Yeah, it's like Beav, Bachelor's Gulch, then Arrowhead. And Arrowhead is just it's like a little oasis. It's got great runs, way less people. It's awesome there.
That's great. So actually, that kind of leads into my next warm-up question. As a Vail guy, Blue Sky Basin, or the front side of Vail?
Blue Sky.
Blue Sky.
I have like a routine because I skied there every weekend in my childhood and raced for Vail and did like Devo and all that stuff. And so I have like a favorite path to get to Blue Sky. So frontside's awesome, but I know like if I'm going to take Milts to Genghis to Lovers and then a couple runs, my favorite runs in Blue Sky, I'm just going to have like the perfect day.
What chair numbers would you use? So what chair numbers do you use to get to Blue Sky? What's the best route back there?
Start the day on 6 to 11 to the top of the mountain, down to 9, up 9, Genghis to 36 and up Blue Sky. And then it's funny, I feel like locals or people from here who grew up there all refer to them by numbers except Blue Sky. I know a bunch of people that are like, we don't even know. I think we call it Pete's Lift and we call it
Pete's Stash.
The
Pete's Lift.
There's Pete's and then there's the main Blue Sky lift, but like I think that's 36 and 38.
It's 37. 37. Yeah, 37 is the main
which
one.
Is 37.
37 is the one that goes up Lover's Leap, past
Yeah.
Lover's Leap on the left.
Yeah. So it's 9 to 37. If 37's closed, a lap up 36 for one more Genghis, 2 laps on Blue Sky on 37, 1 on Pete's, and then down to 21 for a red square lap. I've got that kind of dialed in.
You got that dialed in.
I also still realize that like this is like talking to somebody like this is like somebody talking about New York real estate to like somebody in South Carolina, like talking about all the little intricacies. It's like nobody really cares about my route to get down Vail.
Well, let's just
I'm
say
sorry
this.
if you just lost.
No. To the listeners that want to visit Vail and want to know the locals' route to get to the good stuff, then take notes. Bookmark this episode. Make sure you listen in a couple minutes in so that you know where to go, what to do. I personally skip chair 9 just because it takes longer. It's for you, it's an extra lap. But if it's a busy day, I go straight to 37 from chair 14, which is Whiskey Jack.
Yeah.
But enough about me. All right, Denver or NYC? Pretty hard, huh?
Denver, no question.
No question.
I lived in NYC I was in NYC for 8 years, best 8 years ever. I don't regret it, and I never wanted to leave.
East Village, right?
I was on 13th and 1st, and then 12th and 4th. So I was in just 2 places. I was a rarity. Most people like bop around New York to different places. Like I had 2 total apartments over the course of 8 years, and I loved it, and it was the best. But for me, where I am now, like I got a dog, I got a wife. Like I love having what I have now, and I'm close to my family. So like I can't say city over city, like city to city comparison, New York is a better city. But in terms of like for me, for where I am in my life, like I'm just so happy to be here.
Quality of life can't be beat out in Colorado, that's for sure. Back in New York City days, what was your go-to bar? Favorite bar, go-to bar in Manhattan?
Oh, this is hard emotionally. My favorite bar was a place called Duck's Eatery on 12th and 1st. They just closed down because of COVID. But like the head chef and owner were a brother-sister combo, Julie and Will Horowitz, and they just made such good food and such good drinks. and like they were famous. They went super viral on the internet last year, the year before, for like a watermelon ham. I don't know if you ever saw that. It's like a watermelon that looked like ham, but it was a watermelon.
Okay.
But Ducks was just my spot. I love that place so much. And that, or O'Hanlon's, just for a dive bar. And then every year I spent my birthday at Bleecker Street Bar, which is also supposedly closed.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
so
that was my favorite. One of my favorite spots too.
Yeah, a lot of darts were played there.
A lot of darts. I'm sure you played some pool. Yeah, a lot of fun times in the back over there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, same with me. Yeah, I've had some good times in those bars. All right, so switch gears a little bit, but your favorite restaurant in New York City back in the day?
Favorite restaurant would not be a specific place as much as an experience. I used to do if I had to pick a specific place, like right now, one meal in the city, it would probably just go to Joe's Shanghai and have a million soup dumplings. But, I used to do, one of my favorite like food things to do in the city was to go to 7th between 1st and A, and just go to like there were like 4 or 5 great restaurants on that one block. Same thing as like, I think, oh God, what's the block that has like Ruby Rosa and a few other places in Soho, between like Spring and Houston, whatever. But 7th between 1st and A, I would go to like Caracas for arepas, Luke's for a lobster roll, Yucca Bar for like these espresso ribs they had. And that was like, for me, like the perfect dinner was not a single restaurant. It was like go from restaurant to restaurant and just eat them to go. That was like,
you are a true connoisseur of Manhattan, man. I tell you, that is awesome. Yucca Bar, what a throwback. That's amazing. An amazing place. I don't know if they're still around. We'll have to check, but lots of good memories there as well, for sure.
Oh yeah,
it's right by your old apartment. All right, well, let's get it.
And then, or like restaurants. I used to love like ABC Kitchen was like right near the old Streeteasy office. So if we want to pivot to Streeteasy, I can say that that was a great time to be right there.
Yeah. I mean that area. You want to talk about spending money for restaurants by the old Streeteasy office? I mean, the budget needs to be unlimited because of the options, and also the grade of restaurants is so high. You got all the Michelin rated restaurants right there, and it's such an experience. Those good old days. All right, well, let's do a little pivot. I want to talk basically, a little bit about your early days at Streeteasy. You were there for 7 years. I mean, that's probably one of the longest tenured staff members before it was purchased and acquired by Zillow. Let's talk a little bit about your initial roles at Streeteasy, what you did there. And I know you had more than one role. So, what was your actually, what kind of function did you perform there?
Well, I mean, when I first started, I was an intern. I was still in college, and they gave me a role. There were only 7 people, I believe, on the team at the time, 6 or 7 of us. And I'll never forget the first day when I walked in. I was, fresh, young, would have done anything. And one of the engineers, I think it was Connor, said to me, do you want to run SEO? And I said, what's SEO? And he said, Google it. And then he like smirked. And I think they all realized like having somebody Google what SEO was kind of absurd. But yeah, my first job was figure out Streeteasy's SEO and figure out how we could be the #1 search result for like NYC real estate. And I would track it. And I was a marketing-ish intern, but I kind of did a little bit of everything. So it was a combination of like design things, a lot of agent, work for real estate in terms of like working with the brokers on different output in terms of how like the insider product work for agents and stuff like that, doing a lot of like user research for the brokerage community. And then just everything marketing, whether it's, we want to be doing social media now. This is 2007. So this is like pre everything.
What's
everything from
Instagram?
SEO, SEO, design, a little bit of everything. And early on, I was taught how to train the real estate community on how to use the platform, because this is in 2007, 2008. We were not seen as friends of the community. We were like the disruptors, right? Mm-hmm. So it took a lot of office visits to explain to people like, hey, we're on your side. Like, we're not a brokerage. We're not trying to like come after your business. Yeah. And that was like, people would be really start every conversation with like their elbows crossed, just, you know, arms crossed, like, what's this guy doing here? And, you know, I'm like 19, 20 years old, and I'm just like, hey, we're not going to challenge your business. But then, you know, it took a lot of years of going into offices and like getting to know the real estate community to gain trust and show that we were friends, not foes. But like, I'll never forget, I went into this DJK office to train the agents on how to use Streeteasy, and there was a list of the best of the top salespeople at the company, and like, it was like a lot of people that did okay, and then like 8 times them was you, Talk. And I was like, yo, who is Talk? How is he so bad? And this is like also in a phase where you were submitting you had figured out a hack to get free promotion on Streeteasy by submitting building descriptions. So you sent descriptions for every building in the city, and we did it as like hey, it'll be a fun way for us to get free content, and we'll get to have a lot of brokerages get exposure. And then it was just like the talk show. That was it. It was like this. It was just like it was just like, how could we get how could Talk get as much free promotion as humanly possible? And it was great. It was a win-win.
I loved it. I love those days. Yeah, I love those days. I mean, I would go around and get photos of the buildings and load up the description. It was 2008, you know, 2008. Like, there was really nothing. There was no real infrastructure then. So,
and we shared an office. Oh yeah. Yeah, we were at 19th and Broadway. Sorry, Talk. We were at an office at 19th and Broadway. Sharing space with our CEOs, like close friends, political strategy company. So it was a very different time. I would blast Friday by Rebecca Black and bother the whole building. I was young and reckless.
That's awesome. Going back to what you said earlier, the SEO, the engineer approach to you, it was like, you know, you want to be in charge of SEO. What was Streeteasy's SEO like back then? I mean, did it even come up on a Google search?
We would show up on some things. It was like this is back in the day where like long tail wasn't understood for its value as much as the short tail SEO. So like, in truth, if we looked at it a few years later, we got probably more exposure from everybody Googling individual addresses and those building pages showing up at the top search results. Versus at that time, we thought like, if we don't show up for NYC real estate at the top, then it's going to be the end of the world. So that's the kind of like focus. It was that short tail, big keywords, and we were in the top 10 for some things, and then it would be a big win if we went from like 30th to 24th, and I'd be so proud of it. And like, it really was nothing to do with me. I would be like, let's fix our meta tags, and what if we change the name of Streeteasy to nycrealestate.com or something? Just like terrible ideas that I'm very happy we're not taken seriously.
At the time when you started, was there another competition as an aggregator outside of maybe Zillow? Was there some? I can't even remember.
Oh my God!
Was there something else? Realtor.com? Like,
there was. So when I started, 2007, the biggest companies, this is going to sound fun. If you were in this industry back then, you're going to like get some nostalgic vibes. Yeah. So it was like New York Times was the big one, right? And that was more of like marketing and whatnot. But people thought about where they were finding their listings. It was New York Times, a little bit of Craigslist, but there was and Zillow and Trulia were really not in the picture that much in New York. There was Nate Find. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't remember that one. Nope.
Nate Find was like one of those Streeteasy like type of sites.
Yeah.
Streeteasy-esque sites. There were, it also depended on what you were looking for. So in the rental space, there were a bunch of different products that people used, but they kind of like went over. And then like the other thing is people would go to brokerage websites. You'd go straight to element.com, but you only had access to Element's listings. You went to Corcoran.com, you only had Corcoran's listings. And people, that's what we knew. And we were fine with it.
Yeah.
Right. As a world.
Yeah. That was the norm back then. No one knew.
Yeah.
So that space back then was really, really wide open for you guys to basically take.
Yeah.
It was all open for your taking.
I mean, there was a lot, but I think that the concern at the time was, we want to not be hated by the brokerage community. while at the same time we were scraping their listings and pulling them straight to our website, and saying like, we weren't asking for permission. There wasn't direct feeds, right? So then one of my second roles was like reaching out to every small landlord and big landlord in the city and saying like, hey, do you want to give us a feed of your listings? And these are people who like did everything with open listings with like a list of 20 realtors that they knew that had like small 1-person brokerages. And they would be like, I have a limited listing with 6 guys from that I offer my stuff to. So, and it's all on a piece of paper. So I don't want to like put it online. Like, look, I'm printing like leases every day. I'm just signing checks. It's just easy. So crazy different world from what we are now, where I'd say most management companies and landlords are probably putting their stuff directly online in some capacity.
Yeah, I think Colombian Property Group, I think they stopped faxing their rental availabilities once brokerages even just moved away from fax machines. And that was still 2010, 2011, 2012.
I once sat in an office with somebody, I'm not going to name the company, but the person was going through leases, and there were so many leases to sign that he or she just had a stamp and would just like have a full conversation with me while stamping like the leases. Like it was just, I guess their point was, why do I need your service? Like I'm not paying broker fees right now. The tenants are paying the fees on top. I can just like stamp these, and then nobody will know my availabilities and everybody will be happy. So it was a lot of ignorance being bliss at the time.
Yeah. I think technology more so empowered the consumer and then took power away from some of these landlords that didn't want to show their vacancy or didn't want to show the neighboring prices so that they could leverage out renewals and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So they probably saw you as a disruptor and potentially an enemy as well to some extent. So you had a really tough job. Talk to me about when you visited these brokerages, like how we met at DJK. I mean, you also went to the Elements. You went to like the 15 to 20 offices at Element and Corcoran and City Habitats and Browners, Stevens and Halstead. You saw them all. You met them all. I mean, do you have any interesting experiences or stories of certain things that you experienced during your round, making your rounds? I'm sure you have a bunch. I mean, how about experiences from managers, brokers? I mean, people. I mean, the owners of these brokerages. I mean, what can you tell me about that?
To be real, I loved it. I really loved it. I got lucky because when I started. No, I won't. I can name. I won't name names, but I can say that I loved it. I loved getting to know the real estate community. I loved like gaining the trust of because I knew I had good motives, right? I know I wasn't lying about stuff, so I would be like, "This is what we're doing. We're trying to help you. How can I help?" And it felt very genuine and real, right? In terms of just like why I was there, what I was trying to accomplish. And I wasn't getting sales commission. So there was no if I got 50 people, I made more money. So it was more just like education. So I really loved it. And I got to know so many cool people to the point that like I could name every Element office, who the office manager was, who their top salespeople were. And it wasn't because I studied it. It was just I spent enough time like going there. And then whenever we had a new product release, I'd be like, hey, we're launching this new pro product. I got to show it to your team. When can I come by, Chris? Or when can I come by? Like it would be like, there's a lot of Chris's that run offices.
A lot of Chris's in real estate.
A lot of Chris's. So it was a lot of fun. There were some horror stories. I think that the funniest thing that ever happened, or the craziest thing that ever happened, was probably, and this is like I was so young and so like naive. I didn't know how to dress myself back then. Derek Gross and Alexa Batista essentially said, "You're not going to any more offices until you get jeans that aren't ripped. And you're not going until you find a sport coat." So I went to like Burlington Coat Factory and bought a sport coat so that I could like show up at these offices.
Oh my God, so old school.
So I went into like an office on the Upper East Side, and I was trying to explain why Streeteasy was valuable. And the internet died and we had no access to demo Streeteasy. So I was just talking. And when I talk, I end up like saying something that's like the wrong thing because I can't just like point and distract people by showing them the website. So I was talking, and at one point I think I said like, back in the day, a real estate agent can say to you like, "Hey, the apartment used to cost $3,000. Now it is $2,500. Great deal." And like that was fine because they were, there was no way to find out, whether that was accurate or not. And it was my
real
point was
or
kind
not?
of like, I was trying to imitate realtors, and somebody just stormed out of the room. And I was like, what? And I guess she thought I was doing a Russian impersonation. Technically, I was doing an Israeli impersonation. I'm Jewish. I've lived in Israel. I thought I was doing a good Israeli imitation. I thought if I did it in front of an Israeli, he would recognize that I was doing an Israeli impersonation. She thought I was imitating Russians. So she said that she was going to be calling my manager and getting me fired. So I spent the subway back to the office just like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my job because I imitated an Israeli, but it was a bad imitation.
Oh my God.
And then like I get back and Michael and Don kind of like, no, we're not firing you because you made a bad impersonation of an Israeli real estate agent. So that was one of my scariest career moments.
That is amazing. That is amazing. I mean, poor lady. No ill intention, knowing you, obviously. But
No, I was trying to show that like that transparency is good, and that like it's good to be able to tell people honest facts about apartments rather than them have to like take somebody's word that the price went down, right? And back now it's like the norm. Of course, you shouldn't be able to lie about what something used to cost. Nobody thinks that's weird. Back then, people actually did like make up old prices so that people thought it was a good discount. So
yeah.
It was.
Did you ever get into any bickering during these trainings? I mean, I'm sure some of the brokers that weren't too used to technology felt threatened by you, right? Like you said earlier. So did you ever have any, during your presentations where there were, like, why are you coming into our office and doing this? Why is the internet taking over? And why are you guys trying to, expose this and that, or our data or listings or, X, Y, Z? And did you ever have any experiences with that type? I mean, growth is painful, right?
Yeah.
So people probably have.
Yeah.
You were probably a part of their pain point during the growth of the tech era.
Oh, for sure. And I recognized, I think that the cool thing was I believed so much in Streeteasy, into what we were doing, that I felt like I had enough answers in my head that there was no question that I could get that I would not have a fair response to based on our motives, right? I was
Sure.
like there was every question in the world. You're gonna become a brokerage. I'm like, no, we're not, because then we would have a conflict of interest when we show our listings. The whole point we're trying to do is transparency. Why would we show your listing above ours if we were brokerage? And that's not our intention. And but I would also like, because I was so, young and overconfident, I probably like just took every dig about what we were doing and laughed it off and just didn't take it seriously.
Good for you.
Nah, we're good. Because I knew what we were doing. I believed in it. So it made things fun.
Man.
And we became like, eventually, like, if you become not just like clients, vendor relationship type of thing, and you start like creating friendships with people at these offices, then you end up having allies. And that was one of the coolest things, is that as much as I could fight my battles when I was 21 and 22, by the time I was 24, 25, there were people in the office that had seen the pitch 6 times, 8 times. So when somebody comes in and says, you're going to do X, I didn't even have to say it. I would just kind of look over and be like, Jess, what do you think? And Jess would say, I've been using this for years. They're on our side. And it kind of like
perfect.
The community became my allies. Yeah.
Good.
Oh, for sure.
It made it easier. Speaking of that, so the community becoming your allies, what was the goal back then, Streeteasy, while you were there? Was it to become the biggest aggregator, or was it to, make the most money off marketing, or was it, what was the actual goal for you in your C-suite?
Back then, I'd say, without like putting words in Michael's mouth as the CEO, I was like biz dev and partnerships and whatnot. But our goal was to be the best database. Like, people think of it like Zillow is much more marketing heavy, right? Like, if you compare to Common Streeteasy, and so was the New York Times. But the way we tried to differentiate from the New York Times back then was, we said, we aren't a marketing website, we are a listings database. And we judged our success based on what we thought was the most comprehensive database of real estate listings in the city. And the reason we thought that was important was, if everybody found their places on Streeteasy, great. But if the data was accurate and we had enough stuff that we felt like we could competently talk as data experts, then we could get the organic growth through people like Sophia, and then later Alan, who ran like research and comms. Like
Mm.
the research side of things could fuel articles in Curbed, and like that, the joint growth of Curbed and Streeteasy was not an accident, right? Like
Yeah.
people, Curb was so lucky to have a database like Streeteasy to find their information from, and Streeteasy was so lucky to have Curb to share the stories and highlight Streeteasy as the place that they found it. So like from Joey and Sarah and some of the and Lockhart and the early Curb folks, like they were all so good to us, and I credit a lot of our growth to the combination of them and the Real Deal and everybody. And it's because we weren't just a marketing database, because we were a listings aggregator. So the goal was like be the best listings aggregator, so everybody trusts us, so that you would go to us as the first source, not just for finding data and whatnot, but like when people talked about why you should go to Streeteasy, it's because they have everything and it's accurate. So that was kind of what we were proud of.
That's so phenomenal. I mean, I actually, it makes sense now, because I do remember seeing Curbed ads on Streeteasy back in the day, or maybe vice versa. And you're right. I mean, Curb does bring in, obviously, maybe even a different, a different demographic that would feed into Streeteasy. And then Streeteasy users would go into Curb, and that would be a different demographic than what typical Curb readers might be. So kind of definitely, you're right. The exchange of the viewership between the two sites definitely helped grow each other. That's for sure.
Yeah, and that's It was a really fascinating experience in terms of like the transformation of looking for real estate from being a chore. I think that real estate porn, if you want to call it that, like combing through listings, has always been a thing. People have always voyeuristically looked through like the Times for like ambitious future homes and whatnot.
Sure.
And like the Zillow Saturday Night Live thing comes out last week, and people are like, that's what I'm doing. But like, Streeteasy really took that to the next level in 2007 through 2015. It's like if you were in New York, I feel like you had the best and most like deep experience of like the second you buy a place, you immediately are looking at Streeteasy to see what else is available. And it wasn't just because we had it's not because we had an estimate of how much your place was worth. It's because we like had this extraordinary database around everything.
Yeah, that database definitely was the most cutting edge for sure. And that's why you guys became the top website. I guess before the merger with Zillow. Were you aware of the possibility that Streeteasy was going to sell to another aggregator back then, or was that kind of a last minute thing?
So it was really funny. I actually, not everybody knows this. I had before Streeteasy got acquired by Zillow, we had launched Hamptons, we had launched Jersey, and we had launched Miami. And I had intended to move to Chicago to launch Streeteasy Chicago. And I had been there for so long that I asked Michael, like, hey, before I launch, I'd like to take a sabbatical. So he said, sure. And I was on my sabbatical. I was on Vancouver Island, like in the middle of nowhere. And I got a call from Michael. He's like, hey, can you be here in 2 days? Can you get back in 2 days? We're announcing the acquisition by Zillow. And like, I wasn't blind to the investors in the room and like VC people and all the different conversations that had been had over the years to understand that it could happen at some point. I can't say that I knew it was going to be Zillow on that day, but like I flew back in secret. Couldn't tell my friends that I was coming back to New York because we were announcing the acquisition the next day.
Okay.
So it was a crazy experience.
You kind of had the idea. Do you think the founders, their goal from day one when they founded Streeteasy was to eventually sell to a big aggregator like Zillow? Or do you think that just
I don't think I can. I mean, that's like what happens in the world that we work in, but I don't think that was necessarily Michael's intention. I mean, that crew, that the early people, Michael, Sebas and the other people, like, if they had wanted to make something to be sold to an aggregator, to like one of the big listing platforms as a marketing product, we probably would have gone in different directions with product development. I can't talk to like if that was the original intention. All of us
Right.
loved it, and we like, in terms of just like, I think a lot of startups, people are looking for their exit. And I'm sure there's some people at every company, no matter who you are, who's looking at their equity, wondering what it's gonna be worth someday. We just loved Streeteasy as a company so much, our employees, our friends, what we did, that like, I don't think as much, especially compared to other startups that are trying to be acquired. Most of us just, were more focused on how much we loved our lives and our team than we were about where the next thing was.
Yeah, good. So I don't want to just kind of do a little pivot here. What are your thoughts on the post-acquisition present time of Streeteasy? I mean, things are drastically different. A lot of brokers actually hate it more now than they did while you were there during the 1.0 era. You may know, or I don't know if you know this, but they charge us daily fees for rentals. It used to be $7 during the pandemic. It cut down to $3, but they still charge. They also charge owners, if they want to list themselves, a listing fee. They're trying to upsell us with building pages where I used to just log in and kind of write down the description and submit, and I would have the credit. Now, if you want your building face next to a building page, you have to pay for it. And they used to do the zip. They stopped it, but they used to sell zip codes to us, like Zillow does with agents nationally. So, what are your thoughts on this website now? And did you know that this was kind of the direction it was headed when you left?
It was, the writing's on the wall that when you get acquired by a company that does things a certain way, they would love, whether they can or can't, they would always love to make your product, embody their ethos, right? And we had good conversations early on with, Spencer and Lloyd and Rich Barton, all those, like the leadership at Zillow, about why they did what they did, in terms of like why they love what they love about Zillow, why they built the product the way they did. And I think, like, objectively, if we're not trying to be, if we're emotional, anybody can be nostalgic about how things used to be at their product. And you can say it was better X, Y, or Z, right? But what if they have done such an amazing job of making it a more valuable product and have somehow even more people than ever using their platform, right? Streeteasy is undeniably today, if you ask me, more valuable if it was to be acquired. Like if Zillow spun off Streeteasy and said, what is it worth? I think they've done an amazing job gaining more value from the audience that they have. Their vision of Streeteasy as more of a marketing platform rather than as a data and listings aggregator has been a very profitable one. So like, huge. I think that I can get nostalgic. Yeah, I can get nostalgic all day about like, oh, back in the day it was great. It looks way prettier now. Like between mobile and everything. Like I still know a lot of engineers that still work on it, and
they work there. Good.
They've done an amazing job. Yeah, there's a bunch of former Streeteasy people, or from like not for current Streeteasy people and Zillow people that I worked with when I was there, and like I cannot say that they've done anything they shouldn't have. I can't say that I wish, like I could say, oh, I wish things how they were, but like this is where the world took, and I'm proud of the team that got it here. So
good. Yeah, their valuation probably doubled since they sold. So it was a good acquisition.
And the real estate stuff. Listen, I can't say that like in order to make real estate agents happy, they would have had to really probably go down a different route when it comes to like doing a lot more of the things like replacing taxi and limo, and like we did a project for Core where we did something like that called Core Control back in the day, and like all of those types of changes and going more towards being like a back-end database. They could have done all that to make agents happy, but I think the way they went was the right move for the business.
Do you think the aggregators having too much power is bad for the brokerage business?
I think it's really complicated, and I think that the reason that I find it complicated is my mom is a realtor out here in Denver.
Sure.
Say realtor. Okay. We don't just say. I feel like I never said the word realtor. I don't think I said realtor once in 8 years in New York, and then I'm here.
Never.
My realtor.
Realtor.
So my mom's a broker out here, and she does great, and she like, I don't look at what happens with the with the aggregators as beneficial or counterproductive towards her business, because it's about relationships. And it's like, the brokerage business has not changed. Being a good person who guides somebody through the process hasn't changed. And Streeteasy making everybody more educated hasn't changed the fact that if you are a good broker, you can do well.
Yeah.
I think that if anything, if Streeteasy's past or present impact could have been to weed out like brokers who only have business because of like
bait and switch
or bait and switch. Yeah, all that stuff. Like, I'm happy with where they took it. If there are less shady realtors and brokers, and there are more, I can't believe I said realtors again. Less shady brokers and more just like good humans in the
transparent
space that
humans.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
If the brokers that are madder than ever at Streeteasy are probably the ones who like are less confident in their own stuff.
In their business. Yes. I think one big change that did anger the brokerage community was the listing fees. But I get it. I mean, it is a partnership, and some brokers have made millions off Streeteasy for free.
Oh, for sure. And another counterpoint to the rental, the rental brokerage community has been doing shady things on Streeteasy for years in terms of, how do we not have history tracked to this rental? Oh, well, have these crazy fake unit numbers, because Streeteasy doesn't publish rental unit numbers at the time. Yes. So let's have it be like a long algorithm. People have been trying to be shady forever, and they put duplicates of listings because of that. So like, if a mechanism for getting people to only put active listings is that you have to get them to pay, then maybe it's not the worst thing, right?
I used to communicate with
the back end to all this.
I used to communicate with a Matt Walker all the time about wrong listings.
Is Matt not there anymore? Is Matt not there anymore?
I don't know. You know better than me.
Hold on. Let's check LinkedIn before I make this confirmation, because this podcast can be a place that like a really intense piece of information can be released. Hold on. Matt Walker, Streeteasy. I mean, I made his LinkedIn account, so I don't even see him on LinkedIn anymore.
Oh, okay.
I don't see his LinkedIn account.
Do you want to tell us about Matt Walker, the product specialist?
Matt was the best customer support person ever, and no company will ever have a better customer support person, and that is because he was not real. He was all of us responding as Matt Walker. And we all just like took, we had a assistant for doing it. Okay, so the news is out. Matt Walker was not real. And every year at the holiday party, we had a code, which is for the first hour, Matt was on his way. For the second hour, I just saw him. Third hour, he just left. So
I was at one of those parties, and I was like, "Oh, where's Matt Walker?" I want to thank him for all the help that he's provided me over the last few years.
And it was hard for us to not say, "Hey, that was me." Like, we had to like restrain ourselves, like, it wasn't Matt Walker. Or like at one point I answered the phone in 2008. I answered the phone as Matt. I was like, "Streeteasy, this is Matt." And somebody said, "Hi, is Jared there?" And I was like, "1 second." "Hey, this is Jared," and like,
oh my god,
just so that nobody.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Your guy Cameron, he followed protocol, because I remember asking him at you guys like had a holiday party at a club. I was like, "Where's Matt Walker?" I was like, "Oh, I think he just left."
Cam is the man, and I talked to Cam last night. All of us are still close friends.
Good friends.
Actually, yeah. Wait, when's this podcast coming out?
Probably in about a week from today.
Oh, cool. So I'm one of our old Streeteasy engineers is joining my company full time.
Good.
In 2 weeks. So great. we all are in like Slack channels talking to each other every day, and we are all still close friends. Yeah.
Streeteasy 1.0, making friendships that last forever. I'm running out of time here, so I just want to switch gears now. You are a social media content video creation professional. You're a star in that genre, in that field. As the founder and CEO of Fresh State Media and Gondola, why do you think these businesses need you more than ever. Maybe even especially since the pandemic. I mean, video content, Instagram, social media, TikTok. I mean, it's all kind of new to a lot of these businesses, especially the businesses that have been around for a long time that maybe their operators are a little bit older. They don't understand the social media platform as much. I mean, why is your business more important than ever?
So the reason our business is important is the amount of eyeballs that people get from digital and social channels relative to their traditional media channels, TV and film and broadcast is extraordinary. If you're the NBA or Fox Sports or any
NFL or
NFL, the amount of viewership you get from your highlights and from your engagement on unique content on social is extraordinary, and it has nowhere near matched the cost of the development of that content for traditional broadcast. It is not. There's nowhere near the resources spent on manpower, on branded on marketing folks and creative folks. I mean, think about it. A few years ago, it wouldn't be uncommon to call somebody the social media intern at this league, and now the social media departments are 50 people at some of these big organizations. It's wild. So in a world where the social and digital content you're creating has more eyeballs than ever, it's the most important stuff you can do. How can you make it unique? How can you give people a reason to be watching it and to tune into your channels? And how can you give them something that feels made for those channels? So it's not like you just took something that should have been on TV and cut it down to square for Instagram. So we focus a lot, and I focused the last few years on just like, what do people on digital and social want? And there's so many cliche things you can say about like every platform is different. Like you need to make content just for TikTok and just for Instagram, but it's true, right? Like the TikTok user wants something different from an Instagram user who
YouTube,
wants something different
Instagram,
exactly.
In Twitter, like you could never post one video and put it up on all of the same things, and it can't be the same, right? Let's just do professional sports. MLB, NFL, NHL, NBA. What league is doing the best social media marketing or content creation in your opinion right now?
Best is tough because it's sometimes like a combination of best with what they have and best with like overall. For example, the NBA is in such a uniquely wonderful position because they have, not only do they have a team that's staffed to do really great work, their leadership on the social and digital side is extraordinary, and they've been investing in it for a long time. But they also have, and they believe, and their fundamentals are like, hey, our content is advertising and marketing, so we're not going to like crack down on people publishing dunks on Twitter. We're going to, join in with it. They also have the advantage of there's so many highlights in every game that there's a lot for people to engage with, and there's a rising global audience. So the NBA has the most opportunity for growth and for reach, and they've capitalized on it. So that's the thing that I'd say is like the most impressive. NFL has done this really good job. NFL was probably at the forefront and remains there of player distribution, of leveraging the players' accounts and like creating relationships with them, so that it's not just about the NFL handle. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people forget is like, how does the NFL do it social? You can look at their X million followers on TikTok, Insta, and Twitter and whatnot. But if you combine their players, it's dramatically higher than that total. Yeah. And because they have this great relationship with the players, they have like really mastered that flow of content. And a lot of people have followed sort of their suit, I think, in terms of player distribution of content. So I'd say in terms of at the league level, most impressed by NBA is the best opportunity, and they've taken advantage of it and done it well. They haven't squandered it. And NFL is kind of the innovator in the player distribution stuff. And then the other leagues are, because they're challenged to be more creative with their stuff, you'll see a lot of really cool executions from MLB and NHL. So just a different kind of judgment of success. But I'm pretty I'm very like they all have succeeded in their own different ways, and I think that none of them have really flopped. Like I'm really impressed by all of them. All of them have a lot to look at the last few years and be like, we were the best at X.
Yeah. It what you said about the NFL actually rang true. I think kind of rings true to the real estate world too. Is you could look at the NFL actual handle itself, and yeah, it's got all these millions of followers, but it's not necessarily the attention might be more on the players themselves. So the NFL capitalizes on the players, just like in brokerage. Maybe Compass itself, the handle itself might be pretty boring or bland. It does have a lot of followers, but Compass itself has a lot of agents that have their own social media that they do very, 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 very good job. And the attention might be more on those agents instead, rather than the Compass brand itself. Just on the final real estate question here. What do you think agents need to be doing outside, when it comes to content creation now, rather than, here is, 1, 2, 3, 4 Banana Lane in a single family home.
Right.
This is the door, kitchen. I mean, outside of those videos, like, what do you think content wise the brokers should be doing? Let's just say two types of brokers: the younger generation that may not be as established. Maybe they're still young and they're kind of trying to grow their business, or maybe they're new. And then maybe the established, like the Carrie Changs of the world, let's just say, where she doesn't have any social media presence. She still does well, but maybe if she was to do something, one of those agents, what kind of content should they be creating, in your opinion?
I think that contextual video would be really helpful in the real estate community. And when I say that, I mean like right now you have kind of the Matterport and the 3D visual tours, right? And a lot of them are good. The technology is great. The speed and the speed and the price of how they're done is great, but then it doesn't necessarily hit the quality level that the realtors or brokers want, right?
Yeah.
Like in terms of like you're looking through a Matterport tour, you don't feel like you're seeing luxury, elegance.
Yeah.
Right? Like you want high level. So we've talked about like how can you do like smooth tours that show you kind of almost like if you can picture like a James Bond Nintendo 64 game where it has like where you, or any video game where it has like where you are on the map, like floor plan mapping to where you are on the tour while doing a high quality video. I really like that style. I think there should be more of that. The other trend that may be less impactful in Manhattan real estate with small apartments, I've been loving indoor drone tours using FPV drones. It's a trend I really like. There's a company called Indoor Drone Tours. It may just be indoordronetours.com. The guy, John Batch, who is one of the leaders on it, it's just a really, they're in Chicago, but if you look at their stuff, it's so nice. And it's a unique, it's like 5 years ago, everybody was like, oh, cool, you have a gimbal. That's so steady as you're going through my house, right? And the drones are like, okay, I want to like drop over a ledge. I want to like go up into the chandeliers and fall down. And they are being able to be done more affordably than ever. So I think that if there is that industry in New York of like indoor FPV drone tours, either of new developments or just of individual condo and co-op units or townhouse units, I think that that's a type of content that I'm super bullish on.
Should brokers be on TikTok?
Yeah. I think that's Streeteasy. Streeteasy is dominant on TikTok. Do you know that?
Yeah. I've seen their listings. Yeah, it's cool.
Streeteasy crushes on TikTok. I'm a big fan of TikTok as a platform. I've got 39,000 followers for no reason. And I don't get any engagement on my content anymore. I just had enough viral posts that it worked out.
But you are a content creator and you are a popular guy, so it makes sense.
But like if you can, like there's a huge industry of people that are actually using TikTok to learn and to browse. So like you can do it for either the real estate porn purposes to show off your listings, or to like explain to people what different aspects of the real estate jargon are in how they are implemented. So I mean that's my quick take, but get on TikTok.
Yeah. All right. If you're listening to those agents, get on TikTok. Get on TikTok for sure. Final question. So talk to us about what you're working on now, future projects, Gondola. What is your passion directed to these days?
Right. So most of Fresh Tape is my primary business. We are based here in Denver, and we have 7 or 8 of us full timers here, something like that. And we're continuing to do really cool work and with our army of creators around the country. And we're doing really cool stuff in the video space and in the social space, and it's great. And 2 years ago, we built an internal analytics tool just to track our own stuff, and then realized about a year ago, like, wait, nobody else has access to something like this. Like, none of our competitors or clients have a tool that does this. So we spent the last year or so like spinning it off as its own company. So I'm spending, still most of my time on Fresh Tape, but a lot of it on Gondola, which is the name of the new company. And Gondola. It is the elevator pitch. The elevator pitch is a social tracking and analytics tool that can serve as a portfolio for creators, individuals that work at brands, anybody. Like, it doesn't matter if you've ever made something and published it on social, it'll have a lot of value for you. And the long-term play, because of how we do credits on content, and we are creating the first credit system, the way that film and TV have had for years, that doesn't exist on social. So by having a platform for that, the long term is this can become IMDb for social. So a place that people can go when you see something that you love and you're like, oh, who made that tour of 15 Central Park West? And you could, on Instagram, I saw that was amazing. Who videoed that? You'd go into Gondola and see who the videographers were. So that's the pitch in a nutshell. So I'm spending a good amount of time on that, and we've got full-time engineers on it, and it's a good time.
And that's why you're bringing one of your ex-Streeteasy engineers over to help you build out this Gondola. That's a really good ski lift pitch, perhaps not an elevator pitch, or maybe a good Gondola pitch.
Yeah, and the naming of the company was kind of funny at first. We named it because I wanted to do something like to pay tribute to Colorado and skiing and stuff. But I had this idea as a metaphor that I was like, a gondola gets you to the top, but it's more fun when you're with the group, right? So it's more about like the we, and not just taking credit for me, but saying we did this together, right? Granted, you can't be on a gondola with other people right now, so I'm not actually recommending sharing gondolas with strangers. But
metaphorically speaking, metaphorically. Yeah. Okay. Do you want to kind of give a shout out to, the projects that you've done in the past with Gondola or Fresh Tape, just so that listeners can maybe look up what you guys have done in the past?
I mean, just following us on social is a good view, and then freshtapemedia.com, our website. Our website, freshtapemedia.com, and then Gondola is gondola.cc, but we're still in like a private beta. So if you wanted to access it and test it out, I would just step you through the product. Yeah, I mean, I'm proud of, I'm proud of the work we do every week. It's just, there's so many cool things. Like this week, we're going from a Puma shoot to a professional bull riding edit. And like, we do all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's diverse across the board. And I'm loving what we do. And I do miss the real estate community in New York for sure. It was like, I said this to people, like I got really lucky. When I left Streeteasy, went to Vine and ran the sports partnerships for Vine, and then parlayed that to Fresh Tape. And my only regret is that like I built so many relationships, but didn't get to really like keep them up professionally. And so now, so now I feel great. I feel grateful to have, even just little connections to the world that I love in the New York real estate community.
100%, 100%. Yeah. And you never know those relationships that you fostered in the past may still continue into the future. You just never know. Listen, Jared, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on. We went way over time, just with the hour here, but I truly appreciate it. And for our listeners, please, again, I'm just going to plug Jared one more time on his social media handles. Follow him. Check out his websites, Jarzod, Jarzod, on both Instagram and Twitter, and at Fresh Tape Media, again, both on Instagram and Twitter. Jared, thank you very much. Let's stay in touch. And hopefully I'll see you when I'm back in Vail again.
For sure. And if anybody listening to this is trying to decide between working with somebody else as their broker in New York or Talk, go with Talk. He did not Venmo me $20 to say that. That's genuine.
All right, Jared. Thank you for the plug as well. Appreciate it, man. Stay in touch. Talk to you soon. Hope to see you soon. Take care.
Thanks,
bye-bye.
Man.
All right. Thank you.